Welcome, welcome, welcome one and all to JWC Livestream. That's Joe's Writers Club Livestream. This is JWC Story Autopsy with Ricky and Tom. I'm Ricky.
I'm Tom.
Yeah, there he is, and with special guest Amber Danson. Our
Hello.
our hey, what's going on? Our reoccurring author and reader. And it's been tight lately as far as scheduling for me. I've been trying to get to this project that I'm like dying to write. I'm right around the corner, but it's little things, book blurbs and little edits of things. They've been nabbing at my time, and I really just want to throw chapters down. So creatively, it's a little frustrating, but I know it's like right around the bend. I have this weekend. It's like I'm gonna try to get that one editing thing done, and then finish the outline, and then hopefully by next weekend I can write. Maybe even during the week. That'd be great. How are you guys been creatively? What's been going on with you? What have you been working on?
Well, I'm doing Camp NaNoWriMo this year, and I have not made the goal every day, but I've made it about half the days that I've worked on it so far, and I've got about 6,000 words.
So
Nice.
what is this nano? What is it?
Rimo.
Camp NaNoWriMo, it's short for National Novel Writing Month, um,
Oh,
which
I've
is
heard of that. Yeah.
it's an event that happens in November where they give you the goal of writing 50,000 words in 30 days. And you got to see if you can knock it out of the park or not.
Ooh, that's ambitious. That's
Yeah,
ambitious.
it's fun though. And
Well, sure.
Camp NaNoWriMo happens in April and July, and that's when you pick your goal. You can
Huh.
pick that you're going to edit a certain number of pages or write 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 words, whatever you want to do.
Is it
That
strictly
sounds
writing,
awesome.
or is it? Can you do things like contact 30 agents in 30 days, or?
Mm,
Hmm.
It's
not sure
probably
that
more.
More right on
Go
the
ahead.
writing
more,
end.
yeah,
Okay.
it's more in the writing end, but it's a lot of fun. And 50,000 words in 30 days isn't that hard. It's 1,667 words a day.
That's all.
Well, here. And that's the thing. I have been known to throw down 2,000 words a day, but it's not every day. I wish it were every day. That would mean I was like writing full time basically, because that word yield's impressive. But I don't know. I guess if you're focused, you could do it. It's hard when you're juggling a full time job besides, and you'd have to like let it be your creative obsession and pour all of your muse into it in order
Right.
to
Yeah.
sustain that kind of thing. So you missed it a few days, but how has the overall experience been?
Oh, it's been a lot of fun. I'm getting the story moving and I'm getting plot ideas sorted out in my head while I work on it. It's given me a good start so far, and usually NaNoWriMo works out for me. I've conquered the challenge about 8 times out of 10 times that I've tried.
Nice.
Oh, if there's anyone who could do it, it would be you. I mean, I know you throw down major words in bulk, and it's mostly keepers. So keep us posted on that. How much longer? You're saying it goes till November, or you
Um,
within a 30-day thing?
each challenge is either a 30 or a 31 day because July's got 31 days.
Mm-hmm.
So this challenge is a 31-day challenge that I'm in the beginning of.
Hmm.
But April's Camp NaNoWriMo and November's main event are both 30-day challenges.
That's very cool. and I have heard about it. And if I could like, if I didn't have so many projects open, then I could throw it down. Um, but I mean, anybody could make the attempt. It's a glorious thing to try.
Right.
Because it's like anything that inspires you, you should cling to. So that's awesome. I'm glad you're in the middle of that. How about you, Tom? What have you been working at?
Well, speaking of NaNoWriMo, I could have done it last year, or I the seventh chapter of The Curious Journey of Emily Breck was 55,000 words. I did that in by about 20 days because I was, as you remember, I was really moving on that one.
Well,
That one,
your muse was on fire when you were working on that. Yeah.
So I did 170,000 words in less than 10 months. So that would not have been NaNoWriMo speed, but still.
Close enough, man. Close enough. I mean,
Yeah.
So,
And NaNoWriMo doesn't say you have to finish what you started. It
Right.
just says you have to get to 50,000 words. It doesn't say it has to be the end of the book.
it's a noble thing to
it is.
I mean, I love the idea that, and it's like that I could use to stick to stuff like that. I mean, maybe I will. Maybe next month I will. Especially
Well, the
if
next challenge is in November.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see. So they don't issue a challenge every month.
No, there's only
And-
it's only 3 times a year.
That would be exhausting.
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it couldn't. I didn't know the nature of like. So what is it? Is there like registration or something? Like, or you just do it?
You sign up on the website nanowrimo.org,
I see.
and they and you track your word count on your document and put it in and to their little word count tracker, and it tells you on their little flow charts where you're at and where you're supposed to be.
Wow.
Well, I'm gonna have to give serious thought to November as far as that's concerned. So yeah. So
If
and
you
Tom,
gave me the entire month, just to write, I think it'd be no problem. But with all the things going on, Thanksgiving and a couple of birthdays and working, that would be a real challenge.
It's true. The holiday season would make it, for some people, it would make it a little bit more daunting.
That's why I try to write 2,000 words a day on November's challenge, so that if I don't get anything done on Thanksgiving Day, it doesn't matter.
Right on. That's the spirit. So yeah, Tom, your projects, man. What have you been doing?
All right. For The Bride and Her Mate, I've done another 10 pages since last week. That's just continuing to just flow. For John Pencram's World, I've been writing up his friends and his enemies.
Yeah.
Basically from the research I did a long time ago, and so that's really interesting. He's got a friend named George Bayard, who's a vampire PI. And a woman, descended from one of the original witches in Salem Village, who's the northeast head of United Witches of America, is a very good friend of his. Things like that, So,
how many of those on the list do you have?
Friends and enemies?
Yeah. Is it extensive?
About 5 friends and 3 enemies. We met one on Tuesday. Faye Danan is I consider an enemy, and I wrote up a little bit about his 2 marriages. His first wife was killed by a Greek vampire out for revenge.
Ooh.
So it was really heartbreaking.
No wonder he has such professionalism when concerned with vampire elimination. He has a personal stake in it. Yeah.
Yep.
I never knew that about John Penkram. I didn't know that. That's why lists like that are so helpful, because like now you got this bit of backstory, that bit of backstory. When you is this just taken from stories you've already written, or are these things that you're planning like characters that you're planning that are just part of his backstory.
A lot of the second part where as I was planning out his life, he's got a handful of stories, a bunch of stories that take place before he's bitten by a vampire, by a werewolf, sorry, and a bunch of stories that take place after he's bitten by a werewolf. So I had to plan out what's a before story, what's an after story, and his young
That's
life,
awesome.
early stories when he's in college, when he's a cop, state trooper, and it's just grown from there. Plus the entire change from transplanting his entire world and everybody he knows from uh, the shores of Loch Ness in Scotland to New Jersey. That takes a lot
Yes,
of reworking.
I'd
Even
say.
stories that I've written. I wrote a story about the Loch Ness monster. All of a sudden, just starts killing people, and I had to change it to Lake Champlain, etc. Things like that.
Just juggle your cryptids and make sure that stuff is even Steven
Mm,
situationally, like for continuity. It
right.
takes a little bit of combing, but you could do that.
Oh yeah, and for the curious journey of Emily Breck, I'm continuing with her diaries, and I wanted to give her a flaw, so I decided to make her she cheats at cards. When she plays cards with people, she cheats, which is a very small, you know, I'd say a forgivable flaw, but she doesn't like to lose, especially in cards. So,
So she's competitive to the point of where she doesn't. I mean, there's some people that say if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. So it's a
mm,
question. It's a question of alignment. Now, pardon me, but does she count cards, or does she slip ringers and put cards in that
uh,
don't belong? Like what kind of cheating? You know?
there are several games where you play with 4 or 5 decks, like Canasta,
Mm-hmm.
and Canasta with 4 or 5 decks that no one's going to count 4 or 5 decks worth of cards. So
That's a
she
lot.
comes to the table with long sleeves, and she always
Yeah.
has some twos and some wild cards judiciously hidden in pockets and sleeves and shoes, and you know, and she's really really good at it. So she
That's
never gets caught.
fantastic.
You know, I mean,
Playing cards like that, it's like you got to have a little bit of a adrenaline habit too, because if you get caught cheating, especially
mm,
high stakes, oof, that might
well, it's a monk family,
that might
but
lead.
still,
Oh, okay. I didn't know whether
yeah,
or not. Yeah.
she doesn't go to Vegas or a casino or anything. She just, like in the chapter in North Carolina when she's with Phyllis, with the demon, she plays a lot of cards with Phyllis. And the first couple games, Phyllis kicks her butt. So she goes, I don't like that. So she makes sure, she starts winning. And
Yeah.
and Phyllis says, well, how come you start winning all of a sudden? She goes, I found a copy of Hoyle's cards, Hoyle's rules, and I read the rules, and now I really understand what to do. you know,
Yeah.
so
Nice excuses. I like it. I
so
like it.
she's
Yeah.
because I would think no one's perfect, and nobody
No.
likes perfect characters, and Emily just needed something to make people uh, smile or say, yeah, I've been there. I've cheated at cards, or I hate to lose at cards, and so maybe I'll put a little what do you call it, streak in her that she hates to lose. You know, it's like Kirk
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
Kobayashi
Certainly.
Maru. I hate to lose.
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean,
So
he's the only one that won that test, and the way he cheated. I mean, that's the thing, and it's all about stakes. If you're just having fun, then it's almost like, well, it is purely about competition. But if it's about your career or if it's about money, then it becomes something else entirely. So the
yeah,
alignment starts, like, I wouldn't say that this makes her in any way despicable or malign. This is just like, oh well, I guess I guess Emily doesn't want to lose that bad.
I'm hoping it doesn't come off as negative in any way. I mean, it's only
uh,
cards. You know.
well, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's different if people are getting their legs broken or whatever. That's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah, if she's got weighted dice at a craps table, or she uses her mind to make sure she always wins at roulette,
Yeah, dig it. So that sounds fantastic. Everybody sounds like they're doing great with that. Amber, you said you had this muse flash, the story idea that arose from a song. What's up with that? I'd love to hear about that.
Well, half the idea came from the Skillet song Monster. And watching the video of that on YouTube, where the obviously being experimented on people escaped from the lab during the song. And I'm like, I could do something with somebody experimented on, and that's as far as it went. And then I was listening to the song I Am Machine by 3 Days Grace, and just the chorus of where he sings, I am machine, I never sleep, I keep my eyes wide open. And like, that's where I got the idea for the cyborg part of it. So the cyborg that doesn't sleep, and he has escaped from the government, or no, it's not a government facility. It's a private company that experimented on him.
Very, very cool. It gives me throwback shades to RoboCop, like the old OCP routine.
Yeah.
But look, man, that's cyberpunk. Cyberpunk's like an infinite horizon. Anytime you're plugging consciousness into industrial cybernetics, you could do so much with that. It's the equivalent of a non-human intellect, and you wield that. You wield that in your writing with expertise, as far as I'm concerned. The Bigfoot thing sold me. So writing cyborgs. I mean, I love my book Babbletron. The main character, his name is Vulgar, but everybody calls him Big Daddy. He's a cyborg. He's got like robot eyes and missing limbs and like different technology implanted in him. They're like smart eyes. They don't even let you have the phone anymore. It's like in that future, they put the commercials right in your head, so it's like anything like that is fantastic. And if he's a lab experiment, that's even better. He or she, I didn't mean even.
It's a he. He's going to, he doesn't realize that he can see the infrared now. So I've opened the story with him being cold and exploring his surroundings, seeing only darkness at first, and then something happens, and all of a sudden he can see a little bit what's around him. He can see that his feet are warm, but his hand is not. So he's puzzling over that and trying to remember, what happened and where he's at. And I haven't decided how much memory he has.
Yeah, well, when you're doing that type of chop shop cybernetics, they could edit his memories. They could implant, upload, download, whole like datum, like whatever they want, really. So I'm interested to see where that goes. And the very notion that like the music inspired you. I mean, around here at JWC, we say inspiration is the highest coin of the realm. So whatever it is that brings that notion, and now you got a story off of it. You were listening to some tunes, which is like, you're probably centering, mellowing, and then all of a sudden creativity strikes. It's fantastic. Keep us up to date with that when you start throwing that story down. I'd love to hear it. So and that brings us to the next segment here, which is we do reads on JWC. The story autopsy part is to see, like, once we read and then we comment about it, it serves as an analysis, but it's also, we're hoping to inspire you out there, people who are listening. So Amber, do you have anything to read today? Because your reads are always
Yeah.
great. Okay,
Yeah,
cool. What's up?
I could read the opening of The Broken World, which is my Camp NaNoWriMo project.
Aha.
That would be perfect. Lay it on us.
Oh, come on, there it goes. Tree Climber, ever alert for danger since losing her original pack, was the first to notice the strangeness in the sky. The young Dromaeosaurus trilled to her new packmates, flaring her brown-gray crest toward the cave opening. Stone shrilled as she dug her sickle talons into the cave floor. Dreams of Fire, never one to rest well, woke at once and stared to the sky out of habit. When she saw the fat flakes of white hissing swiftly to the ashy ground, she fluffed her feathers in alarm. What now? More ash? Nightfall asked with a petulant set to his feathers. The pack leader gave Dreams of Fire an accusatory look, as if thinking she had summoned the bizarre phenomenon. Tail Chaser dashed from their all-important shelter, snapped at the whiteness, and darted back inside. That stuff is cold and turns to water on the tongue. Fresh? Tree Climber asked with a raised crest. Sour, like all the water has been since the world shattered. Tail Chaser fluffed his feathers. It's cold outside, too, like really cold all of a sudden. All eyes turned to Dreams of Fire for an explanation. The Dromaeosaurus mystic flattened her feathers and ducked her head. I don't have all the answers, you know. I dreamed of the falling fire every night until the devastation came, but in most dreams I did not survive the impact. I can't see the future the way you think I can. Glimpses, maybe, like shadows that have meaning, but are here and gone as the sun slips in and out of the clouds. The sheltered pack heaved a collective sigh. It had been weeks since any of them had seen the sun. Thick, lightning-streaked ash smothered the world, danced with the falling whiteness, and hovered in a massive cloud. None of them had a word for snow or winter. As subtropical creatures from a tropical world, they had never experienced cold to this degree. Some nights might grow chilly, but bone-numbing cold was new. Do you think this stuff will make food harder to find? Onyx, Nightfall's mate and co-leader of the pack, sniffed at the cold air drafting in through the low entrance. Grim realization spread to every member of the pack, and as they exchanged glances, they all knew the answer. How full are the food stores? Howling Wind, sister to Dreams of Fire, turned her snout over her shoulder so she could peer at the cold cave. Not full enough, Onyx said morosely. We will do everything we can. Dig for insects if we must. Nightfall raised one foot and scratched his jaw with a delicate talon. The cold, though, I can't be sure what to do about that. Everyone present fluffed their feathers, insulating themselves against a puff of icy air, swirling with snow and ash. Dreams of Fire let out a squawk, sending Tree Climber bolting out of the cave. Howling Wind hissed in alarm, and the others let voice protests at Dreams of Fire's unorthodox noise. Feathers! Dreams of Fire cried, prancing around Tree Climber as she came back inside, shaking snowflakes from her body. That's the answer, feathers! Care to explain so us ordinary dinosaurs can understand? Howling Wind asked caustically. We shed feathers. We keep them and anything else we can find to help us stay warm in the caves. If we find a carcass with feathers, we harvest them along with the meat. Many cocked heads all around the cave, barely seen in the low light filtering through the ash cloud. Dreams of Fire, puffed up from all the attention, strutted across the uneven cave floor with her brown crest raised. The air won't be as cold in the caves. The water is fresh, and if we explore the depths, maybe we can find insects and lizards and other small things to eat. We may end up eating a lot of fish and grubs. A round of dissatisfied hissing circled through the cave, quickly suppressed when Dreams of Fire snarled. Nobody said survival was pretty, Howling Wind grumped, plopping herself onto the dry ferns of her nest. The world has changed. If we don't change with it, we will die along with everything else. Not everything, Dreams of Fire said softly. Small, resourceful creatures will survive. What if we're not resourceful enough? Squealer asked in a woeful voice. Nearly grown into adulthood, she was the pack's best tracker. I'm more concerned about us not being small enough, Dreams of Fire confessed. The world we knew is gone. What's happening out there, she tossed her head toward the cave entrance, may last a long time, but it is only temporary. The sun will come back and the cold will go away. Nightfall shivered and cast a look of pure disdain at the piling snow. I don't suppose you know how much longer. Longer than any of us would like. Long enough to sap the spirits, starve the senses, and make tempers savage. We must keep order if we are to compete with those few who are now searching in desperation for their own food and shelter. Those of our kind are to be recruited if possible, Onyx finished with a low hoot of amusement. And make sure never to lead anyone back to the caves. Tailchaser dropped his jaw in a Dromaeosaurus grin. Unless they've agreed to join us. Little Growl, now the largest of her generation, added with ruffled feathers. With a glance at Solstice and Equinox, she said, I'm not sure we should take just any Dromaeosaurus who offers to join. The twins hissed in unison, their displeasure undercutting the hooting laughter echoing through the cave. Their troublemaking had become legendary in only a few days of uniting with the surviving Dromaeosaurus packs. Did you hear that? Stormcloud, leader of the Soranitholestes newcomers, cocked her silver-gray head, eyes as blue as the sky nobody saw anymore, fixed on the cave entrance. Everyone grew quiet, listening for what could be heard over the hissing snowfall. Several heartbeats passed in silence. Faint but carrying, a cry speaking of pain and fear. The voice of a Dromaeosaurus, or Soranitholestes. The two were difficult to distinguish one from another, raised in desperation. The various pack leaders exchanged meaningful glances, feathers fluffed in concern all around the cave. Dreams of Fire raised her crest and flicked the tip of her tail. Awareness filtered through the assembly, and within a few heartbeats, all eyes were on her. Windrunner, take Squealer and track the source. Observe only unless danger looms. I will follow with Nightfall, Onyx, Firecrest, Shallow Streams, Stormcloud, Smoke Eyes, and Heatwave. You might need muscle, Bonebreaker rumbled, puffed feathers making him appear twice his already extraordinary size. Several of the pack leaders hissed displeasure at him. Onyx raised her dark crest and stared Bonebreaker down. If it is one of our kind, we must rescue them from whatever danger threatens, and then assess them for suitability to join one of the allied packs. This is best left to the pack leaders. Bonebreaker subsided, though he and his grown chick Little Growl exchanged an uneasy glance. Dreams of Fire flicked her tail again. Windrunner and Squealer took off into the ashy whiteness. Bonebreaker, you and Little Growl guard the entrance. Peas on feet, patrol outside, and call to the others when you hear us returning. The two large Dromaeosaurs fluffed their feathers in agreement. The young Dryptosaurus, ward to Dreams of Fire since hatching, wriggled with excitement at being included and ducked from the cave to take immediate possession of her responsibilities. Dreams of Fire and the assembled pack leaders darted from the cave, weaved around Peas on Feet, and hissed in united displeasure when their feet touched the iciness of that mix of ash and snow falling thick around them. Ignore it, Dreams of Fire advised, except as it's useful for tracking. Look, we can see the tracks where Windrunner and Squealer ran. Follow them, they will find the stranger. What if there's more than one? Smoke Eyes ducked her head in order to focus more energy on running. Numbers were a slippery thing for Dreams of Fire, but she knew one thing with absolute certainty. We don't have enough fresh blood to keep the species strong, even if Dromaeosaurs interbreed with Soranitholestes. We will need more of our kind if we are going to survive. So you're hoping it's a small pack that got into trouble? Nightfall asked. Dreams of Fire bobbed her head and poured on more speed as another pained howl rang out over the devastated landscape. They found Windrunner and Squealer many heartbeats later. The two youngsters were side by side, crouched behind an ash-killed spray of ferns. "What have you found?" Dreams of Fire asked, more with a set of her feathers than with words. Windrunner flicked his crest, inviting her to look for herself. Easing up on his other side, Dreams of Fire kept low to avoid giving away their position. Peeking through the foliage, with the ash and snow still falling thickly, she could at first make no sense of what her eyes were telling her. A lone Soranitholestes, her gray-white plumage making her all but invisible in the gray-white landscape. She lay on her side, one wounded leg kicking feebly in the frigid air. The scent of old blood excited their hunting instincts. All those watching bristled their crests, fighting the urge to surge forward and end the stranger. "Let me," Dreams of Fire said softly, and loped toward the stranger without waiting for an answer. As she closed in, the stranger hissed, threatened by the approach of another predator. Dreams of Fire stopped just outside of striking distance, her cocked head and ruffled feathers displaying curiosity but no hostility. "Who are you?" Gently asked, the question did much to show Dreams of Fire meant no harm. The stranger's growling subsided. "My name is Daybreak. Who are you?" "I am Dreams of Fire, and some of my packmates wait just beyond those ferns." Daybreak craned her neck. "I don't see them. Not surprising, I suppose." "You're hurt." Dreams of Fire sidled closer, sniffing at the wounded leg, only to be driven back by another hiss from Daybreak. "I can still run," Daybreak said defiantly. Dreams of Fire hooted. "Nobody said you couldn't." Daybreak struggled to her feet and glanced over her shoulder. "Are you alone?" Dreams of Fire asked. More a formality. None of them were expecting a wounded Soranitholestes to have pack members. "I am now." Dreams of Fire bobbed her head. "May I call the others to come meet you? We aren't hostile. We have plenty to eat stored away." A few heartbeats passed before Daybreak bobbed her head. Dreams of Fire raised her drab brown crest, a signal for the others to join her. Windrunner reached them first, also stopping out of talon range of the stranger. The others ranged in a ragged semicircle around him, feathers bristling with curiosity. Taking several steps to the side, Dreams of Fire turned so she could see everyone. After introductions were made, the pack leaders fell to sniffing the stranger, inviting similar scrutiny in return. Scent revealed much: her exhaustion and hunger, her relative youth and good health despite unknown ages without a solid meal. "You must be mighty hunters to be so well fed in these troubling times." Daybreak flicked her molting crest, sending half a broken feather fluttering into the chaotic air. "Dreams of Fire foresaw the ending of the world we knew," Onyx said with a proud glance at the uneasy mystic. "It is thanks to her that we survive as well as we do. Would you care to join us?" Daybreak's hunched posture and sleeked feathers spoke of her defensive uncertainty. "It is not in our nature to share with other predators." "Sometimes the survival of all must take precedence," Dreams of Fire said gently. "Dromaeosaurs and Soranitholestes can likely interbreed, but we will need many members of both species in order to make it happen. There is much we can do to contribute to each other's survival, provided we don't turn savage in these trying times." Lifting one taloned foot, Daybreak scratched the downy feathers along the side of her neck. With a flick of her tail, she straightened to face Dreams of Fire squarely. Only the dilation of her pupils betrayed her pain, putting weight on a leg with such a nasty slice. Dreams of Fire copied her posture, raised crest speaking of her joy at seeing Daybreak's strength. Though there was subtle dominance in the way Dreams of Fire raised herself on her toes, making herself taller than the Soranitholestes. Daybreak accepted Dreams of Fire's leadership with a dip of her head, though the set of her feathers expressed uncertainty. Sharp, predatory eyes fixed themselves on Daybreak, raised crests and low growls from pack leaders sensing a challenge. "No offense intended." Daybreak said quickly, as much with posture as words. I am only unsure that my mannerisms will be understood by your kind, though I suppose they must be if you run with others of my kind. Stormcloud, the sole representative of Soronithaleste's present, stepped forward a few paces. I have lived with these dromaeosaurs for several days, and we find our differences to be superficial. In light of the strange circumstances, I think it should no longer be their kind and my kind, but our kind. All of us who are similar enough to crossbreed should band together, or else we will all die out. Daybreak bobbed her head and, moving with cautious grace, stepped among the assembled pack leaders, then past them into the dying undergrowth where Squealer crouched. Sorry, finding errors as I go. Seeing her accepted by the others, the young Dromaeosaurus rose and greeted her approach with arched necks. Mutual sniffing took mere heartbeats before all present relaxed, confident that no fights would break out. That's 6 pages, so I think I'm going to stop there.
Very nice.
I mean, seriously, I love what I'm hearing there. There's so much going on. I mean, you got the drama of this thought experiment, which is some sort of extinction level event has occurred, and now these dinosaurs, they are facing really bad climate change, hyper accelerated, and the results of a cascading extinction event. The fact that they're processing it, I like how you're writing them. There's like an intellect as if fully sentient, but there's such a command of instinctual body language. It's like, it's really cool. And you tell time in terms of heartbeats, which is supremely logical because they wouldn't have any other concept of it. Like a couple beats is this, and then it would be the movement of the spheres, but as in the stellar bodies. But since the sky is ashen now from whatever tumult has been thrown up, I mean, it's just great stuff, dramatic, and there's a menace of this change and how they're processing it, and your names. Your names are great. I dig it big time. What do you think of that, Tom?
I was very good. It was reminded me a little bit of Red Raptor, and with a little bit of Watership Down. If you're familiar with that.
Yeah, my mom called this is the sequel to the Shattered Sky. My mother called the Shattered Sky Watership Down with dinosaurs.
Right.
That's great.
My only question would be what kind of creatures they are. I'm not sure if they would know that they know that they're XYZ creatures or Dimetrodons or Tyrannosaurus, right? What I would do with the type of creatures is the two tribes or types. I would give them a distinct name like Rufflecrests or Hufflepuffs or something, rather than what the dinosaur types they are, because they don't know what they are, right? I mean, not till we know what they are. But
for ease of description, I use the dinosaur scientific names in both the Shattered Sky and the Broken World. But I've got about a third of my illustrations ready for the Shattered Sky, so that people who don't know what an Alphadon is will not have to imagine one. They'll be able to just flip a couple pages. Oh, there it is. There's a picture.
Yeah, helpful, certainly, especially when describing these, because there's sometimes the species, there's similar features. And I dig Tom's idea concerning them having a collective identity, because they have some sort of pack order, and maybe that's in transition. I could see where he's coming from with that. I think it's cool you're using the scientific name for them, but I mean that might be something to consider. Um, but
Yeah.
just really, really cool. I mean, where did you get the inspiration for this initial project, and what books have you read that have informed you? Because it's really cool. I mean, it's hard to sustain total non-human narrative for some people. You got that down pretty good. How did you do that?
I don't know.
Well, all right.
Yeah, I had the idea for doing a story with dinosaurs when I was 15,
Hmm.
Hmm.
and did a little bit of it and then never finished it until I was about 28. And then it just poured out. I did it as a NaNoWriMo project, and 50,000 words poured out like it was nothing, and then the additional 20,000 to make it the 74,000 it is now.
Hmm.
Fantastic.
And I sort of
I'm gonna have to beta read that. Like maybe you could send me a PDF because it's just intriguing what you're doing there. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm like, I'm amazed by this.
I forget what I was going to say. It's okay.
Although, the thing with the dinosaur types, in Watership Down, they referred to themselves as rabbits and cats and dogs, and I
Mhm.
completely forgave the author for that. Because they didn't call themselves long ears or hoppies or. So
Yeah.
it could work. That was an initial thought. That
I think it works as them self-identifying as their species, but I think the idea that they could have a collective, it feels like in this chapter they're in the middle of kind of like making a new tribal order for themselves where it's more inclusionary, because they're saying like, well, we need to stick together, things are getting rough.
mm,
Mhm.
um, so maybe it's something to consider later on in this project or for another. Really great stuff, Amber. Thank you for reading. I enjoyed it, and it's really cool perspective. Something to learn from. Tom, what's up with you, man? Do you have anything to read?
sure. I just like to touch on the inspiration by a song. Um,
Sure.
there's been a song. There's been a song. There's a story kicking around in my head from the opening line to "Sounds of Silence." It's "Hello, darkness, my old friend." I said I have to do something with that someday.
Yeah.
And
Um,
it's coming. It's bubbling and under the surface. One day it'll be there. And I also have about 25 years ago. I took a lot of notes to do a animated project based on the planets by Gustav Holst. It's 7 musical tone poems, and it's fantastic if you haven't heard it. Um,
I don't think I
and
have.
oh, it's incredible. It starts off with Mars, bringer of war, and it's amazing stuff. And I just thought of 7 short animated films with the music playing, illustrating what the you know what it means is would be amazing. Um, so
Fantastic. Yeah,
so
that sounds.
yeah,
Are,
there's
are are you saying that they're poems? Is that what I
tone
heard?
poems.
What does that mean?
It's a musical piece that's hard to describe. You'd have to look up the definition of tone poem. It's just a complete musical piece, a set of musical pieces that make one entire whole. That it's
Okay.
he wrote it to be played in a certain order: Mars, Saturn, Jupiter, Mercury, etc. If you took them and you put them in order from the sun out, they don't sound. They sound completely different, and they sound odd. But you play them in the order he composed them. It's this beautiful whole, and
Interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting.
Gustav Holst, The Planets on YouTube is about four. It's been recorded about 50, 60 times. Leonard
How
Bernstein and oh, go ahead.
what year was it composed in? When is
The
this guy
first
from?
piece was Mars. It was composed in 1914. He did it as sort of an anti-war piece because he was really angry that we had gone to the
World
First
War One.
World War,
Yeah.
and he played it to this huge audience, and they thought this is absolutely the piece is incredible, just even by itself. So that he got an incredible positive response, and he composed six more, and it's really hard to pick a favorite. I would have to say Mars and Jupiter are my two favorites, and Mercury goes like lightning fast, and Jupiter is this big, heavy bass piece. I picture in the animated piece would be about the Norse gods, uh, where Thor driving through the snow and ice to his father's big birthday party, and you could and it's he didn't write a piece for Pluto because wasn't around then, and he didn't do Earth.
Hmm.
Um, which is very interesting. And later composers did compose a Pluto and an Earth, and they're decent. But the original seven, is it seven? Yeah. Yes, the original seven are music beyond compare, I would have to say. Um,
So you listened to him, and you were inspired to do some kind of animation script. I think you were saying.
right. It's the Mars Bringer of War. I pictured a story about two sides fighting an unending war that they're always getting ready to fight, and a new generation is always in the background waiting to go march off to get killed. And it's on this
Yeah.
large planet where it's got like an infinite population, and they're always fighting, always, century after century fighting, and
Hmm.
yeah. So that
Well,
that
it sounds very cool.
definitely
Um,
when we get off tonight, I'll go to YouTube and type in the planets, and it's 45, 50 minutes. It's amazing stuff. You know,
it sounds great, man.
it's John Williams. By the way, John Williams stole a whole lot of the planets for his various soundtracks, Star Wars especially. Um,
Really?
yeah, you'll hear bits and pieces of Star Wars themes, all of them in the planets, and not that he
Wow.
ripped them off. I think he was inspired. I'll go
Well,
that far.
well, I was about to say because that sounds them fighting words. That sounds like you're saying he's kind of hacky, but you're saying the themes and stuff. You could
In the
tell that
feel,
the influence, not to the point of being derivative, but you're saying you can definitely hear the influence.
sure, sure. All the evil
Interesting.
parts and all the good guy parts and everything in between, the adventure and the
Mm,
space flight and etc. You know,
cool.
you'll even get a little Indiana Jones feel in a couple of them. So, and
So yeah, that's very interesting. So I wanted to ask you guys about social media interaction as authors. Um when you guys approach social media with your no, I don't mean as you as people. I mean you as writers. How do you guys go about it? Have you ever done promos for your work? Have you ever done reads like we do here? What's your presence like, and your personal take on social media? Because as for me, I'd love to do some kind of promo, but I can't really figure out what would be best. And I make comments and stuff, like I'll go through the various clubs, and obviously we have our community at JWC where it's more for the Tuesday meeting with me. But my personal take on social media, unfortunately, is it's almost like a necessary evil. I'm
mm,
kind of anti. It's not that I'm anti social media, but I'm anti-social on social media. Like, in this day and age, it's kind of hard to know where to put your foot sometimes. And it's like I think that's something that I'm lacking, that I need to develop. Um, but what about you guys? How about you, Amber? What's your take on social media concerning authorship, like putting your works out there?
Well, I'm still building a presence online. I have my personal Facebook page that I've had for years. I've just started my private or my author Facebook page that I've had for a week, and
Yeah, that's right.
build an audience, get to know people, and get things moving.
Hmm.
Yeah, well, I think that's great. And I've seen how you make, like, the comments you drop always get lots of likes. Like the stuff I've seen with your original profile. I think I saw one today, like someone's asking advice, and you usually have something pretty useful to say. It gets acknowledged, which is always for the best. Counting likes, it's not even like for the sake of trophyship. It's for the sake of, if someone has noticed the relevance of what you're commenting, that's the highest coin, you know. And if you get like little thumbs up and hearts, I'd say that's evidence of that. um
Hmm.
so yeah, I think you got a better handle on it than I do. How about you, Tom? Where are you at with that?
I belong to a lot of writers groups on Facebook, and I really like putting my 2 cents in. Some people call it help. Some people call it nitpicking. Some people call it meddling. Depends on what mood I'm in, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I try to be a help. Or a lot of thumbs up, and or what do you think of these two pictures? I'll say I like B better than A, etc. You know.
Mhm.
I have my website, which is a kind of a wreck. I have that, don't do a whole lot with it, but I have a blog that has one piece to it, which is, I guess, social media. I'm on LinkedIn, which I'm trying to build up as a, I used to have a lot of business links there. Now I'm trying to build a lot of writers links, and they're very supportive. They're pretty decent. Um, Let me
Mm.
see. So it's well, I should do more social media. There's some places I'm not going to go near. TikTok, they can, they know where they can go. Um,
Yeah, I'm not a fan either, but to each their own, you know.
yeah,
Um, well, I think you got a much better handle on it than I do. I think both of you do. And that's the key with social media. If you're going to be shady or you're going to be vicious, like I've been in rooms where somebody asks an honest to goodness question and people just swing, and they're nasty, and it's
yeah,
like it like saying, like, aiming for cruelty, and it's like it's just irrelevant. Like, why even be that way, you know?
right,
But it's like, if you're going to use social media as an author, it certainly shouldn't be to be destructively critical, or just talking trash. I
right.
mean, I don't think anybody could get behind a strategy like that. I don't know what it does for you other than making you a jerk, you know?
Yep. I
Um,
mean, I do like on Fridays. They do a lot of groups on Facebook do a send us your links. Yeah, share your links on Friday. So I have get my link from my Kindle book, and I go around and bounce around, and when it says, share your works here, I go boom, and so
mm,
it's got to, whether or not it makes any kind of impact, we'll see. Um,
speaking of Kindle books, it's about that time again. We're it's time for plugs, folks. It's very dear to us. This is how we sell our books and get our work out there. It's been a great show. But Amber, why don't you go first? Tell us what you're plugging today.
It's still Death's Nightmare, the only thing I've got out. It's going to have the sequel launched October 1st. I'm almost done with the editing process on that one. So if you don't want to have to wait too long to find out what happens next, now's the good time to pick it up.
You heard
Nice.
her. You heard her, folks. Amber Danson, go to Amazon, get it. You heard how she reads. This stuff it's going to be choice. It's going to be worth your time. Tom, what's going on? What are you plugging?
Plugging my my short story collection. First one, Dwellers in the Shadows. Bunch of spooky little creepy stories that you know that I like to write, and I'm hard at work at my second collection. Is it still out there? Um,
Oh yeah, that's right.
yeah, that way, and that one's coming along pretty. I have two editing softwares I use. I use Pro Writer's Aid, and I use Hemingway. So I run my story through Pro Writer's Aid, and then I save it, and then I pump that into Hemingway, and I run it through there. And when I'm satisfied with both of those edits, I give it one good read through, and then it's ready for. I put it in my send off to Kindle folder, and then
Hmm,
when I have enough stories in there, I put them all together and see what I've got. And
fantastic.
I'm hoping
We're
this
looking.
weekend I'll have enough, you know. So I'm going to put the giant toad story in there and the giant cicadas in there, and the
That's
dragon with the
great.
princess story, and
Yeah, that one's
yeah.
good too. The toads, man, is just. I'm not going to say anything, but that one alone is worth the price of admission. All right, so Dwellers in the Shadows, Amazon.com, Thomas Tiernan. Check it out, folks. And I'm plugging Babbletron, After the Fire. Babbletron is a novella, a cyberpunk novella about cyborgs and AI and genetic engineering and all kinds of cool stuff. Amazon.com, check it out. It's either Kindle or KDP. And there's some new stuff on the horizon for me, but that's about all I need to say. No reason to go too far. And thanks a lot, guys. This has been a great show. The read was fantastic. We had a great time going over creativity and creative obsession. And thanks for listening, everyone. And we'll see you next time. Take care.
See you guys.